Well, good morning. It's 9 a.m. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the 20 or so folks who are here today. We had 60 people RSVP for this Brunch and Learn with Community Action today. So we're really glad that you all are taking the time to learn a little bit more. These Brunch and Learns with Community Action, we call them Brunch and Learns because back in the day we had lunch and learns, but some of us are still working on our breakfast in whatever form. So feel free if you'd like to enjoy your coffee or tea while we're chatting today. These monthly Brunch and Learns with Community Action, we focus in on a big community need. We talk about partnerships, coalitions, collaborations across government, nonprofit, and business community to address that big community need. And then we spend most of our time zeroing in on what's community action's part of that. How does this relate to our mission? Who is it that we serve? And the outcomes are, we hope everyone who joins us at these Brunch and Learns, our own staff, community partners from education and social services, elected officials, and volunteers and others, we hope that when you get this information, you can use it to make good referrals to community action. You can tell community members, oh, hey, if you pick up the phone, you could ask community action about this issue. And so number one outcome is how to make good referrals, but then we'll also let you know how you can get involved, learn more, or be a part of these solutions as well. So I'm Liz Jennings. I'm Director of Community Engagement with Community Action of Skagit County. This month's topic is help paying the bills. And I'm going to say the names of several of our staff members who are here to help us out today. Jennifer Lopez is going to be talking about the Working Families Tax Credit. Glad you could be here, Jennifer. James LaRay in our employment programs. Debbie Hill from our Energy and Utility Assistance Program. And in about 10 or 15 minutes, we'll be joined by Dulce Vasquez Cruz, who is going to be talking about basic food. So first off, what are these community needs that we're talking about? I think probably everyone on this call is feeling it. Prices are going up. We've experienced inflation. Food is more expensive. Housing is more expensive. And as those prices go up, it impacts people in our communities at the lower end of the income spectrum the hardest. And so we're here today to talk about community actions, programs, and services that help fill that gap. And I'm going to start by noting some research. I'm going to share my screen here. And some of you may be familiar with the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. Community Action is a member of the Washington State Low-Income Housing Association and a number of other statewide and national coalitions related to housing, food security, and basic needs. And one of the pieces of research that we get from this National Low-Income Housing Coalition every year is this report called Out of Reach. And what they're looking at is what is the housing burden, especially on the lowest income folks in our communities across the United States. And I'm going to do a shout out, our colleague, Josh at Community Action. I am looking for the graphic he made for us. Here we go. I'm sharing my screen. And the first thing you're going to see is that graphic from the Low Income Housing Alliance. The second thing you're going to see is Josh's interpretation of what that means for Skagit County. So basically what this is showing is what we call the housing wage gap. So according to this national research, in 2023, the hourly wage in Skagit County needed to afford rent of a two-bedroom apartment was $27.06 an hour. And this is because of the cost of the housing going up every year, and because the unaffordability of housing and the low availability keeps pushing the cost of housing up. But what this research shows is that somebody who is actually a renter, on average is estimated to only make $18.47 an hour. And so that leaves what we call the housing wage gap of nearly $8.60 an hour. And where do these numbers come from? So research over the last 20 years has showed that we all should be paying 30% or less of our income, 30% or less of our income on housing and utilities, but we're paying much more than that. And people at the lower end of the income spectrum, people that Community Action serves, sometimes families are spending 50, 60, or even more percent of their income on housing. And I do want to take a moment to just acknowledge that this is a problem within several systems. So when the National Low Income Housing Coalition is giving us this data, part of the reason they're doing it is because they're advocating on the federal level for better federal housing programs to help support, to fill in that gap for our lowest wage workers, communities across the United States who are hit by this. So they're advocating on the federal level. Many of us are working together, working at the state level for state policies to change those housing systems. And sometimes we hear, well, hey, why don't employers just pay more? Why can't we ask employers to make up the gap? So there are multiple interrelated systems that we're talking about here. But one of the things that Community Action hears from the employers that we work with in our employment programs and in advocating for housing is that many employers are working really hard to pay fair wages. And I'll just put up my hand and say Community Action is the same way. Over the last 3 years, we've had a wage equity project where we've brought up some of our lowest paying positions to be on par and at the median level with other employers in the community. And we're advocating hard. In fact, our state coalition is advocating in the state legislature right now for policies that would increase government contracts to actually pay better wages to people working with folks experiencing homelessness, for people working in social services. It's called a wage parity or a wage equity initiative. And we're supporting the work of a King County coalition that has had success in doing this, in renegotiating contracts to get more fair wages for workers. But the point here is that we can't put all of the burden of this housing wage gap on employers. That it is a multi-system problem, and the root of it is that housing is unavailable and it's unaffordable to the people who already live and work in Skagit County. So we wanted to make that note before moving on to the punchline of this Brunch and Learn, which is that while this is the current reality within a broken system, and while Community Action and our partners are working to fix those systems, Community Action is also here to help fill in the gap. And so this graphic shows that while currently workers may be paying 30% more of their wages on housing, well, what do they do then when they have that gap? When we do this workshop with churches or service clubs or things like that, where we can have a little bit more group discussion, I ask the question, our neighbors are smart, resourceful, creative. When we encounter a situation that disrupts our family income, many of us have resources to draw on. Some people have savings, others don't. Some people can couch surf with friends and family or turn to their communities of faith for temporary help. And sometimes people run out of those creative solutions. So rather than going without a medication, or rather than having to choose between childcare and gas to get the kids to school, there are programs in the community through Community Action and our partner organizations to help fill in those gaps. So when people call Community Action, if you make that referral, you'll see it on our website, and I'm going to ask Isabella to put the URL in the chat. At Community Action's website, the phone number for all information and referral is right here at the bottom. We also have friendly resource centers that people can walk into in Concrete and East County Resource Center, in Mount Vernon, the new Anacortes Resource Center in downtown Anacortes. And we have many programs that take these services out into the community, like our Seniors and Disabled program, our outreach programs, working with people who are living on the street. So when people call or come to community action, or we take our services to them, we're telling them about community actions, income support services that might help them bridge that gap. And we're doing information and referral. Our colleagues at the Resource Center on the phone and at those front desks, our staff and volunteers who are out in the streets and taking these services to people's homes are not only carrying the message about community actions programs and services, but they're helping with that resource navigation of all those other agencies that are in our resource guide that we know about, that partner with us through other coalitions. So I'm going to just take a moment, since I'm sharing the screen, and to remind you that the first place our staff, volunteers, and community partners can go is this website. And the I'm looking for tab is designed around the kinds of questions that our team hears most frequently on those phone calls. And so there's food resources we're going to talk about today, help paying the bills and utility bills. There's ability to help veterans get connected with their benefits and services through Skagit Vets Connect, financial education. And today we're actually going to start with one of these important programs when we're talking about community actions, income support services. This will be the second year of a new state program called the Working Families Tax Credit. And to tell us about that, we've got Jennifer Lopez, and you'll find information from Jennifer down here where it says financial education, Working Families Tax Credit, free tax help. That's the tab to look for to follow up on what you're about to hear from Jennifer. So Jennifer, I'm going to do the PowerPoint for you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, you ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay. Take it away.
Well, hi, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Jennifer Lopez. I am the Family Engagement Specialist for Adult Education. I am in charge actually of registering students for our classes that we offer. We're now located in Burlington. But yeah, today I'll be talking about the Working Family Tax Credit. So what is the Working Family Tax Credit and how can it help fill in that wage gap that Liz was talking about, not the wage gap, the housing gap. So it's a tax refund for Washington State residents. It's worth up to $50 to $1,225. So that is a increase from last year. It is actually no, this is the increase, the 1,225. So for families that meet the requirements that I will show in a second, but it's geared towards low income families and undocumented workers. So if you don't have a social security number, you can apply with an ITIN number. So yeah, you can go on to the next slide, Liz. So who is eligible for the tax credit? So you have to have a valid social security number, or like I said, an ITIN number. Children with ITIN numbers also qualify. You must live in Washington for over half the year, which accumulates to about 183 days in 2023. You should be at least 25 and under 65 years of age or have a qualifying child. There is a very long, inclusive list of qualifying children, so I'll go over that in a minute here too. Go ahead, Liz. And then you must file a 2023 tax return before you apply, because you do have to attach your tax return with the application. You must be eligible to claim the federal earned income tax credit on your 2023 tax return. The EITC, the earned income tax credit is something you can apply for through the IRS on your taxes. It's for low to moderate income workers, and it helps get like a reduction of your taxes if you owe taxes, or it can increase your refund. So you can check out the website on the IRS. If you click Liz, um, you can follow irs.gov/EITC for more information on that specific claim. You can actually see if you qualify. Families can go on the Working Families Tax Credit.wa.gov. It's the Department of Revenue website. They have a questionnaire that they ask, and then it will generate an answer depending on the way that you answered the questions, and it will give you an estimate of a tax return or what you would need or why you wouldn't qualify. But yeah, these are the 5 questions that they ask. And then, so you do need to know your 2023 income in order to answer the last one. You can go ahead, Liz. Thank you. So who is a qualifying child? Um, Anyone under the age of 19 at the end of the tax year and younger than you. Or if your spouse, if you're applying married filing jointly, the applicant, under the age of 24 at the end of the tax year and a full-time student for at least 5 months of the year and younger than you, the applicant or your spouse if married filing jointly, any age if permanently and totally disabled at any time during the tax year. And I really like that one. Your relationship with the child should be your son, daughter, stepchild, adopted child or foster child, brother, sister, half brother, half sister, stepsister, brother, grandchild, niece, or nephew. Like I said, this list is really inclusive. Go ahead, Liz. So there are some requirements for the children's residency, but like it's also very inclusive. So to be a qualifying child, the child needs to be born or died during the year of which you claim the Washington Family Tax Credit if you're claiming someone who was born or died in that year. Um, they must live with you, like the 6 months applies to that one as well, the 183 days. Go ahead, Liz. Um, they can be temporary away from home. So if your child was temporarily away from home, we count that as a time that they lived with you. For example, illness or hospitalization, school attendance, vacation, business, or military service, detention in a juvenile facility, or if they are currently kidnapped, and you can still claim them on the Washington Family Tax Credit. How to apply. The applications began February 1st of this year, so you can apply online for free. It's a really easy system to use. They made it so that anyone that can navigate through a website can use it fairly easily. You can also do e-file. There are not all of them, but some of them, tax preparation softwares are including this as an option. And then you can also do it by mail for free. What you'll need to apply is a copy of your federal tax return that you filed with the IRS, your social security number or ITIN number, and the dates of birth for you, your spouse, and your children. Your Washington State's driver license or ID if you don't have a Washington State driver's license, your residential and mailing address, your banking routing number and account number if you choose to apply with direct deposit. You can click one more time, Liz. Thank you. So these are the updated income requirements. Community Action website. I don't know if that was updated. So this is the most accurate one. So yeah, depending on the number of children, qualifying children that you have, and then how you filed your taxes, single or married, this is the maximum refund amount that you can receive. So it can also be in between those numbers. It just depends on your income that you got in 2023.
And Jennifer, I'm just going to stop you there because we're talking about those income supports and how to fill the gap, right?
Mhm.
And so this as a tax return, it's basically cash back that people have already paid to the state, but it comes back either as a direct deposit or a check, is that right?
Yeah, so you'll receive it in the mail or direct deposit, and applications usually, if you put in an application and nothing is needed, they process pretty quickly. But if you don't, then you'll get a letter in the mail, or somebody will give you a phone call, mostly by mail, about more information needed in order to process your application faster.
So this is money that the families we serve, it's like free money. It's their money. It's not new money, but they're getting some of their money back. They can save it for a rainy day. They can use it to pay a bill or to pay down debt. They can use it however they like to help fill in those gaps. And I think that's really important to remember, because many of these income supports, these gap filling programs, are for something very specific, like you can only use this resource for food, or you can only use this resource for something else. So I think that point, one of the reasons that community action, and Jennifer, you're spending your time doing this, is because that flexible resource is so important for families to set a goal and to choose their own next steps on how they want to use that resource. So thanks for helping us emphasize that.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that you at least need to make $1 in 2023 to apply. So you don't need to have a full income, like a full job. Like anybody that at least made a dollar and has all the requirements to apply can apply and will get a refund.
So seasonal workers,
Yeah.
maybe migrant workers who live here for half the year, if they make part of their income someplace else, they make half their income in Washington State. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be from full-time employment.
Yeah, definitely. I've had families come in and apply and they say, but I've worked in Texas, for example, half of the year, and then I come work here and I'm like, oh, you could still apply. And their kids are going half school, they're half over there, and they were able to purchase school supplies for their kids or food or just things in general for their kids. And yeah, it's a really big help. So yeah, you don't need to have like a one job and have a full income as long as you file your 2023 tax return. And there are also e-file services that can help you file your tax return for free. So you don't have to pay for someone, and the free tax services that are happening as well.
And I
Um,
will show that after your presentation. We've got that information on our website too.
yeah, so right now, if you want to click one more time, Liz, thank you. You can apply with me. You can come in, make an appointment. I'm in the office Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you have somebody that wants to apply, they can come in and see me, or they can call me and leave me a message and I'll get in touch with them so that I can help them with their application. It's pretty easy. If I will give them information of what to bring before the appointment. But yeah, I'm available in the morning, so if anybody would like to apply, you can set up an appointment with me.
And what languages do you speak, Jennifer?
I speak Spanish and English, so I'm able to help in Spanish. I am actually training to be certified in being able to help people apply for ITIN numbers, but I do have connections of other people that can help apply for free ITIN numbers. So if somebody doesn't have that yet, they do need to apply for that first, and then we can do the Washington Family Tax Credit.
So it wouldn't be a bad idea. What you're saying is if someone on this call is working with a family who don't have their ITIN number, but they did live and work in Washington State for half of 2023, they can come talk to you and you will help navigate them to who they need to work with to get that ITIN number so that they can apply to get this state tax credit.
Definitely, yeah. And there is actually a ITIN thing happening, like a tabling event for ITIN numbers, and that's free. So if you need more information on that, you can also reach out to me. I think it's through the Savvy organization that's doing it.
I think that we have that information from our Latinx Advisory Council, and Isabella can share it in the chat and also send it out to everyone who RSVP'd for this brunch and learn.
There you go, Skagit Legal Aid.
And I'm going to share a screen one more time, and I'm going to show this page on Community Action's website. This is our financial well-being and tax help. Again, it's under I'm looking for. You can go down to financial education, and that info is there. So all that info that Jennifer just shared is on our website about the Working Families Tax Credit and how to contact her, how to apply on your own. And in addition, there's flyers that we have for if you know anybody who would like to be a volunteer and help out, because our partners at AARP and other organizations have free tax help centers. And Jennifer, these free tax help centers, I think most of them are trained up on how to help people with the Working Families Tax Credit. Is that right?
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, I've heard that they are, so yeah.
And then just so that you all the participants know, you can download flyers and other resources from our website as well. So thank you so much, Jennifer. And I think we do have a few minutes if we just want to take a pause on this topic. Does anyone have questions for Jennifer about the Washington State Working Families Tax Credit? Well, Jennifer, you mentioned helping some folks and they said they were going to use the extra income or getting their own money back to help in some specific ways. You mentioned food and some other things. Is there any like a story you can share or just in general say a little bit about what kind of an impact this makes in a family's life?
Yeah, well, I actually had a family come in. The family, one of their family members needed diabetes medication and they couldn't make ends meet. And they applied for the working family tax credit, and that gave her some relief of hope that she was going to be able to afford her diabetes medication. And it made me feel like, wow, like this tax refund does help a lot of people. Um, there are families, like I said, the one family there's another family last year that they were able to buy. They had just came from Mexico. They worked for half of the summer, and that was enough for them to qualify. And they actually got a bedroom, I mean an apartment that they couldn't afford, and they needed beds for their children and a desk for their son to study, and they were able to buy all of that for them. So that was really nice to hear from them that they were able to get those things for their kids, the basic needs. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I think that is a really great example of how community action and our partners are helping to stretch people's income to fill that gap. And that flexible funding from the Working Families Tax Credit is really, really helpful. Since we're on the topic of taxes and finances, James, could you jump in first before we ask Dulce and maybe just tell us a little bit more about how community action can help when folks are wondering, you know, I do have a little bit of an income or I am getting a tax refund and they're wondering the best ways to what to do with that. What kind of resources do you have? And then I'm going to ask you about the Asset Building Coalition if partners want to get involved.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Liz. So hi again, I'm James Leray, and I'm the Employment Programs Coordinator at Community Action. So I oversee our employment programs and our financial education classes. And right, so when you get that extra tax money, it's a really great thing, but it is, right, it's just another source of income. So in the classes, we teach a lot of different things, but specifically in our smart money budgeting class, it's kind of a different spin on it. And we look at things like that, like the taxes that you get as like that income windfall, we call it, and how to actually be intentional about that money. A lot of times, right, you might get that money and it'll easily be spent, and we don't really sometimes even realize what we're spending it on. Hopefully it's well spent on necessities and things like that, but some people will also sort of spend it frivolously. So, right, we look at that and try to really take a look at that as a piece of income and sort of this smart buying process, which instead of like penny pinching, like normal budgeting, it's more about intentional spending and really being clear with what you want to be spending your money on so you can get ahead in the areas that you want to. So that's kind of in our smart money budgeting class.
And I'm just going to jump in and say, I want others who are here today to know that what James is describing is something that happens across community action, not just in these financial workshops. Our staff puts that household, that family or individual at the center of decision making. And the conversation starts around the individual's goals of what do they want to change in their lives? In what areas do they want to get ahead? Is it housing or purchasing a more reliable car or saving for a rainy day or having enough at the end of the month every month, and then providing those tools, knowledge, tools, and resources so that that family can get ahead on the goals that they've set for themselves. So it sounds like that budgeting workshop, tell us what it's called again, and then what else have you got available?
Yeah, so that's the Smart Money Budgeting Workshop. Then we've also got like a banking basics class, which really helps people understand how to use the banks or credit unions to your best advantage. Like many lower income folks, I suffered from being charged bank fees, overdraft fees, maintenance fees, all those nasty fees that banks will charge. But you can opt out of a lot of fees. You can find accounts that don't have fees. You can find accounts that actually pay you money, so little incremental increases in your income. So really helping people understand the banks and the different financial institutions, how to set up things like automatic savings as well, so they can fit those goals that the individuals have. And we've also got our credit confidence class, which helps people understand sort of the ins and outs of credit, but also how to use credit intentionally to get ahead, right? So, maybe you want to leverage some credit and debt for education, or maybe you need a car for transportation to get to and from work. Things like that, or at a point where you want to stop renting and you would like to purchase a house, so you have an asset that, keeps building equity and pulls people out of generational poverty. So we've got a few different classes that we offer, and they are all geared around helping people just be more intentional with their money and how to make their own really well-informed financial decisions.
On
And then,
on the website, there's a link to the page that has all our agency flyers on it, and so folks can scroll down, and when those workshop event flyers are updated, those flyers will be on that site. And James, you have a couple of quotes here from program participants. Can you tell us a little bit about how these classes have made a difference in someone's life?
yeah, so the classes are really great. People are getting information that they weren't previously as familiar with. Right, some of those things that get left out in our education system or doesn't get taught within the family dynamics sometimes. And so people are really, really excited when they can actually find out they make money off of bank account instead of being charged. A lot of people kind of, do the old school thing of hiding money under the mattress or in the sock drawer, right? And because they've been burned by the banking system before. So it's really nice when they kind of see that difference and that change, and we help them. We go through a little process in the workshops where we help them look at a few different financial institutions. And I've got like a little Skagit County banking cheat sheet so they can make those well-informed decisions and be like, oh, that account doesn't charge any fees. I actually make a few % interest on the checking and savings account. Like, wow, that's nice. I actually feel like I'm being treated well by a bank instead of being nickel and dime to death by them. So it's really awesome to see people's whole perspective sort of change and sort of see the possibilities open up.
So many of us grew up in situations where money made us feel out of control, that there was never enough, or we didn't know what to do with it when we got it. And it sounds like what you're doing is helping people identify areas where they can be in control of their making intentional choices. So again, while we're working on the big picture system, this is one of the ways that we help individuals. And James, I'm going to share screen to show a little bit about the Asset Building Coalition. I understand that Community Action has been helping to lead this group for several years, a collaboration between social service agencies who might have folks who need financial education, the organizations that provide financial education, and then actually banking or financial institutions that want to help people get rebanked or banked for the first time, or to access resources that our clients may not, the families we serve might not know about. So can you just briefly tell us about what is the Asset Building Coalition and how people can get involved?
Yeah, sure. So as Liz kind of mentioned, it is a group of different businesses, public, private, nonprofits around Skagit County that are interested in financial education and sort of just economic development of the county, right? Helping the community out. As the tide lifts all boats type of analogy, right? If we can help increase people's incomes, if we can increase their financial skills, if we can fill those gaps around the community and help people out, you know, it's going to benefit everyone all around. So banks and private businesses, the nonprofit agencies. So it's just a collaboration of folks, and we try to get together to share resources, sort of have a collection or a database of those resources so people can kind of have a spot to go to get more information and leverage those resources to help their clients or themselves or their families or the community in different ways. So we've been growing again after COVID kind of knocked the wind out of the sails a little bit, so to speak, but we've been increasing our membership, and we're always looking for other folks that are interested or passionate about financial education or helping uplift people in, you know, economic development type of ways. So if anybody is interested in that, they can definitely contact me, and I can throw my email in the chat. But reach out to me, and I'll send you the calendar invite. We meet the fourth Wednesday of every month at 1 p.m. I believe our next one is on February 28th, if I'm not mistaken, at 1 p.m. So I'll share my email in the chat. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, we can collaborate and get you involved in the Skagit Asset Building Coalition.
Thanks so much, James. And now we're going to turn to our resource manager, Dulce Vasquez Cruz. And Dulce, thanks for being here today. And I'm going to, one more time, share the graphic that we started with. And you can tell us a little bit about how community action helps fill in the gaps around food. So again, with that housing wage gap where people in Skagit County aren't making enough to pay for housing, there's a gap in things that they either are going to have to choose to go without or find help for. And food, housing is community actions, top level priority. Food is our top level priority, and family resiliency, like we just heard about with these financial resources. So Dulce, can you tell us a little bit about when someone calls the resource center or walks in the front door in Mount Vernon or Concrete or Anacortes, and they say, hey, I'm having trouble making ends meet. I'm having trouble paying the bills. What are some of the resources around food that our friendly service screeners are able to tell them about?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dulce, and I'm the Resource Center Manager for our Mount Vernon office and Anacortes. So services that a client can expect if they're walking in or if they're calling in our office saying that they need help making ends meet, or maybe they need help with some food benefits. Our service screeners are trained to screen all clients that are calling in or walking in and determining what services would benefit their household the most. And one of those options are the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, aka SNAP, aka EBT. And as you'll see on our website, we have some information on there, and clients are obviously, they're screened for basic eligibility here at Community Action or at any of our resource centers and other programs. They are screened for services. We complete an application with them, the initial application for the SNAP benefits. And eligibility really is determined by DSHS, but we do that initial screening for them. And one of our focuses that we're trying to focus now is really walking beside our clients and helping them access these services and along with them, and asking them or letting them know what to expect after we submit that application. Their interview process with DSHS, SNAP or EBT, the electronic benefit transfer card, those are good in stores, and there are some stores that you're able to purchase food online, but that all depends on the vendors. And we really are here to help clients. We know that the rate of our food increasing and our wage is not increasing at the same level as it should be. So we're definitely here to help clients. Clients can walk in through our doors or call in, and we'll be able to help them with that basic eligibility screening for basic food.
And then they'll say, obviously, we also screen for families with children. WIC, Women, Infant, and Children Program, is another one of those income support programs. But then also our resource center keeps a list of all of the what some people call food banks, but most of them in Skagit County are food pantries that are served by the Skagit Food Distribution Center. Community Action helps bring in large shipments of food and gets them out to those food bank partners, food pantry partners. So you're doing that information and referral and resource navigation. So in addition to food banks, you also keep up on under food resources the current meal programs. And what other types of when someone is asking about food resources, what else do your service screeners ask about to see if they're able to perhaps wrap around some additional services that could be an income support or to help stretch that income?
I think, like Liz said, screening them if they have children, a WIC referral, if they need assistance for maybe they're struggling to purchase food, and they're renting and they have utilities that they've got to pay. We've got our energy department that we can connect them with and schedule an appointment or help them navigate that resource. That's another way that we're also helping clients stretch their income.
And then also tell us about the senior food box
Oh,
program.
yes, and the senior food box program. So that's also a resource that's available through Community Action. And so we connect anyone that's in need of food box. So those get delivered to their home, and we get them connected with Lori, who's at the food distribution center, and make sure that they're getting connected. And we've seen a lot of that happening out in Anacortes and here in our Mount Vernon office. A lot of those referrals are being done.
Well, thank you so much, Dulce. And one of the things that you mentioned is that somebody might come in, make that phone call, or go in the Anacortes office or the Mount Vernon or Concrete office, and they might have an immediate need and ask for one thing. And it might actually be housing, and we may or may not be able to help them. And that can be frustrating. We hear sometimes from partners, they say, well, a client said they went to Community Action, but they were told we can't help you. And generally what that means is that we might have said there isn't that resource in the community right now. And what Dulce is saying is, if that person will engage in a little bit longer conversation, we look at what else can we help with. It might not be the thing that they asked for when they walked in our door. So for example, somebody might have come in saying, I'm having trouble paying my bills. Dulce's team screens for basic food. And then what we heard is she does a warm handoff to our friends at Community Action's Energy and Utility Assistance Program. Which is a very significant resource that can help more people in our community than are asking for the help. And so I'd like to go to Debbie Hill, our program lead in our Energy and Utility Assistance Program, to tell us a little bit about what is Energy and Utility Assistance and how important is it for stretching income of the people you serve.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, my name is Debbie Hill, and I'm the Energy Program Coordinator here, and we're located in Burlington. And what we do here through the LIHEAT program, and that is Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program. And what we do here is we assist low-income households with the high cost of their heating and cooling bills and their electric bills to reduce their energy burden. We also keep households from having their heat source or their electric bill turned off. And we also educate them through our conservation education program that we have here. We talk to them about how to conserve energy. We also work with the Skagit County Housing Authority, where we have referred many, many clients over there for assistance when it comes to insulation and other things that they may be able to assist them with. So it's an incredible program. It's immediate. I think that's what I love about this program the most, is that it's immediate help. The client, once the file is complete and we have all the proper documentation and it has gone through and they have signed their documents, we can immediately pledge over to PSE, CNG. We also have propane, oil, pellets. We also do wood, and we have outside vendors within the county that we work with when it comes to propane and oil and pellets, where we actually send that pledge over to that vendor, and they're able to assist the client when the client either calls for a delivery on oil, calls for a delivery on propane, or actually walks in the door to purchase pellets. So it's an incredible program to assist our community in their energy needs.
So Debbie, I'm going to ask two questions that I hear frequently in the community. Number one is, oh, I can't apply for energy assistance or utility assistance because I haven't gotten a cutoff notice. Is
That's
that
not true? That is not true. You could have a credit on your PSE account or your CNG account, and you can still walk in once a year and apply for our program. Our program is from October 1st through September 30th. Now, Commerce, who's the one that gives us our policies and procedures when it comes to the LIHEAP program, they may cut that program short and it may end in August instead of going all the way through September. The only reason they do that is for internal purposes to get ready for the following season. So no, they can come in. You could have a credit on your account. You still
so it's
come in as long as
completely income based?
it's
As long as
income
my
based.
yeah, as long as
Income
my
based.
income,
Yeah, it's
And-
income
and-
based. It's based on how many people live there, their income, and then we do a history on their PSE or their CNG or even their propane. The vendors will send us the history of their account for the last year.
And what languages do your energy team members speak?
We have English, of course, and we have Spanish. We're getting really good with Google Translate, and because we have Russian and Ukraine that come in, and they'll bring their phone and they'll put it in, and we just talk right back. Or they bring interpreters with them, and so it's working out real nice.
Well, one of the things I remember from my childhood is that a lot of these kinds of programs, they seemed mean. And it seemed like they were trying to keep people out. And there was a stigma to asking for help. And that's another thing I hear in the community a lot is, oh, I don't want to ask for energy assistance because somebody needs it more than me. There's not enough resources to go around. And one of the things that I'm so impressed with is how friendly the energy assistance team is, how client and family centered you are, and that you are looking for every legit way to help people qualify. So you're looking at, this is their income, but there's certain types of income that maybe don't count. And so
That's
you're
correct.
helping them to figure it. You're there to help them now. They don't have to figure all of this out. You can help them figure it out. Can you tell us a story of an individual or a family, and what was the impact if they had a gap in their income between what was they were bringing in? Maybe it was just Social Security or some wage income, but their expenses were higher. What kind of a difference did it make to get that income stretching through energy assistance?
Well, it was just 2 weeks ago. I don't usually see clients, but we had one of our intake specialists sick, and so I saw this family, and when she left, I cried because I'm getting wound up even talking about it right now because her husband's disabled, and she would sell things on eBay to make things meet. And they had about a $600 difference between his disability and their rent. And lo and behold, their Cascade natural gas was in the process of being disconnected, and their water had been disconnected. They have a child who's autistic on the extreme side and is a runner, which she shared with me that so she can't sit on her computer because of her husband's disabilities. She has to watch her son pretty much every moment of his life. So we were able to stop the disconnect of her CNG and actually restore her water that afternoon. So this job here, I love this job because you meet real people where they're at, what they're going through, and they will tell you. And to see the stress, you could see stress leave from her face for what we were doing. So it keeps you humble, very humble, because there are many, many, not seniors, single parents, families that are struggling right now. The impact between wages and rent is real, and we see it every day in the applications. Because if you look at the applications and you see what because LIHEAP, we have to have proof of that income. And when we see the income come in versus what they're paying in rent, it's heartbreaking. They're just trying to stay above water each and every day. And the LIHEAP program is probably one of the most important programs I've ever come across. In fact, a little plug for my manager who's in Washington, D.C. right now, advocating for the LIHEAP program. And it's a must in this community. It's absolutely a must. They should never, ever stop funding LIHEAP.
Well, we are very proud that the State Association of Energy Assistance Programs did send Misty from our energy and utility manager to DC to help advocate and keep this important resource, this important way that households with children or seniors can stretch their income to make up that gap. And so one thing that I do want to ask about, Debbie, many of the folks on this call volunteer or work with people without homes. And I understand under some circumstances, you're able to help people who might be living in an RV or that type of situation. So under what circumstances can you help people with energy or utility assistance if they don't have a traditional home?
Yes, it's not required. People live in their RVs. The only one of the qualification, it has to be a functional home. So they have to have running water. They have to be able to cook and eat inside a bathroom. It has to have a flushable toilet, that type of thing. And we are able to assist with propane because that's usually the type of heating that is in the RVs. And so we have a lot of individuals, especially seniors, that are on a very fixed income and can that's the only place that they can afford to live is in their RV. It could be on in a lot. It could be on a crossroad. We have a form. They have to jump through a few little more hoops, but we will do everything we can to see that if we can, and we're not violating any policy or anything, we will do everything we can to assist those individuals with propane.
Well, thanks again. We do have about 8 minutes left, and I welcome any questions in the chat or just take yourselves off mute. If you've got a question for our team here at Community Action, it could be about something that we didn't even talk about today, a concern or a missing resource in the household of a family you're working with, a friend or a neighbor. So does anyone have any questions about these income stretching services at Community Action or elsewhere in the community?
Hey, Elizabeth, this is Tom with Skagit Habitat.
Hi, Tom.
You showed some pretty interesting data right at the beginning. Is that data that we can leverage in our own outreach and advocacy?
You betcha, and I'll even let you use our graphic for free, but I'm going to share my screen again, and I'll put the website in the chat. Every year, there's this out of reach report that is done by the National Low Income Housing Alliance. And they've broken down wages, living wages, or what they call a housing wage for every area of the country. And so Isabella Ordonez on our team grabs that information for Skagit County every year. And when we do presentations and things, we talk with groups about this. And then our colleague Josh created that cool graphic that we can send out after this. We can share this with all of you. That is the housing wage gap in Skagit County.
That's
for
great. I'm
2023.
familiar with yeah, that's great. I'm familiar with the report. I hadn't seen the 2023, and this graphic is pretty cool. So thanks.
Yay, Josh on our team. Any other questions? And thanks for being here, Tom. Habitat is an important resource for many of the people that we serve. Well, thanks to all of you. I do see quite a few folks who are partners at Helping Hands Food Bank and in local schools and other nonprofit organizations and government. Thanks to the elected official here. And just a reminder that another one of the myths that we hear out in the community is that there's not enough to go around. And for some programs, that's true. There's not enough housing. There is not enough housing that people can afford. And there are programs like energy assistance, which last year, when our team at Energy Assistance went to a low-income senior housing development to sign people up for energy assistance on site, so those seniors didn't have to call, didn't have to come to energy assistance. By definition, 100% of the 100 or so people living in that facility would have qualified for energy assistance, and only 50% of them signed up. And so we need your help. We need your help to let our neighbors know that it's not shameful to ask for help. And in fact, some of these programs like energy assistance, we all paid for it. So those seniors who paid their energy bill for 40 or 50 years, there was a piece of that is a fee that was going into a big pot of money so that when they needed it, they could ask for the help. So the same thing we see with our Skagit Vets Connect and other programs. Many times people don't ask for help because of the stigma and the bias in our community. And we just want you to help share the word that community action is a friendly front door to any of these questions. And if we don't do it, we're going to direct folks to our community partners who might be able to help them. And I think you heard through some of those stories from our staff today, the number one product, the thing that makes us smile the most is hope. Is that seeing that when people realize that they're not on their own and that there are friendly folks to help them, that increases hope, it reduces stress, and we all benefit when everyone can be stable in their houses and they can be equipped to get ahead on their goals. So thank you so much to our staff here today who are stabilizing and equipping, and to our partners and volunteers and donors who are helping us get that work done. Thank you, everyone.